My name is Dawn J. Young, and I was 28 years old when the man I loved looked me directly in the eyes and told me women like me were meant to be stepped on. I had never been the kind of woman people looked at and thought, that's the glamorous life I want. I didn't drive anything expensive. I didn't chase luxury vacations or post every meal online. I woke up early, worked a steady job, paid down my student loans, saved what I could, and took care of the people I loved. Stability was my thing. Some people call that boring. I called it dependable. When I met Lucas Bennett, I thought that was exactly what he wanted. Lucas was ambitious, artistic, unpredictable, always chasing some new creative opportunity. While I worked overtime and built savings, he freelanced, trying to break into the design world. Some months were good. Other months, I covered most of the rent. I never complained. We're a team, I used to tell him. Lucas would wrap his arms around me and say, "You're my rock, Dawn." For a while, I believed that meant he valued me. Eventually, being his rock started feeling more like being the ground he expected to stand on, while looking for somewhere better to go. The comments began slowly. "Why don't we ever do anything spontaneous?" Lucas asked one evening while scrolling through social media. "We're saving." He rolled his eyes. "Always later with you." Then he started joking about me around his friends. One night, someone mentioned an impulsive weekend trip to Miami. Lucas laughed. Dawn is basically a 50-year-old woman trapped in a 28-year-old body. She'd rather organize a budget spreadsheet than actually live. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. That was easier than admitting it hurt. Then one evening, I came home after a long shift and found Lucas pacing the living room with a glass of wine. The second I entered, he turned toward me. "You know what your problem is?" I set down my bag. "What?" "You think working hard makes you special." I stared at him. "It doesn't. It makes you predictable." "Lucas, I'm working for us." He laughed sharply. "Our future?" "Dawn, please." Something about his expression made my stomach tighten. "Women like you are meant to be stepped on." I thought I had misheard him. "What did you just say?" "You work. You save. You play everything safe so people with actual ambition can use that stability to move forward." His eyes were cold. "You're not someone who changes lives, Dawn. You're a stepping stone." For a few seconds I couldn't speak. This wasn't drunken frustration. It was what he actually believed. "So that's what I am to you?" Lucas shrugged. "You're convenient." I felt anger surge through me, but instead of yelling, I became completely still. My silence irritated him. "Oh, don't look wounded. You know you'll never do better than me." The next morning, I expected an apology. Instead, Lucas walked into the kitchen staring at his phone. I offered him coffee. He waved it away. "I don't drink that cheap stuff anymore. Vanessa showed me this place downtown. Single origin pour over." "Vanessa?" The smile on his face answered before he did. She was older than us, successful, connected, and apparently, everything Lucas believed I wasn't. He finally looked at me. "Let's not drag this out, Dawn. You're safe. Reliable. Fine. But I don't want fine. So, you're leaving me for her. She can take me places. She understands ambition." I nodded slowly. Lucas mistook my calm for surrender. "You can stay here for a while," he said. "Help with rent until things settle down. We don't have to make this ugly." That was the moment something inside me snapped into perfect clarity. I walked into the bedroom, pulled a suitcase from the closet, and started packing. Lucas followed me. "What are you doing?" "Exactly what you suggested." His smugness faltered. "Dawn, stop being dramatic." I zipped the suitcase. "You called me a stepping stone." He crossed his arms. "So?" "So you don't get to keep standing on me." For the first time, Lucas looked nervous. "You'll regret this." I took my suitcase and walked toward the door. Behind me, he shouted, "You'll come crawling back. Women like you always do." I never turned around. And for the first time in years, the silence waiting outside that apartment felt less like loneliness and more like freedom. The first few weeks after I left Lucas were quieter than I expected. Too quiet. I had gone from living with someone who filled every room with noise, music playing, phone calls on speaker, complaints about clients, constant commentary about what everyone else was doing, to sitting alone in a small one-bedroom apartment with nothing but the hum of the refrigerator and my own thoughts. Some nights, the silence felt heavier than the suitcase I had dragged out of our apartment. I would lie awake wondering whether Lucas might call and apologize. Maybe he would blame the wine. Maybe he would say he had been angry. Maybe he would admit that calling me a stepping stone had been cruel and that Vanessa meant nothing. Then I would remember his face. Calm, certain, almost proud. He had meant every word. That realization hurt, but it also stopped me from romanticizing what we had. So I worked. Not because I wanted revenge, because progress gave me somewhere to put the pain. I volunteered for extra hours at work. I finally joined a gym after avoiding it for years. The first few weeks were miserable. My muscles ached. I felt awkward around people who clearly knew what they were doing. But I kept showing up. Quiet consistency. The same quality Lucas had mocked. I started cooking for myself instead of ordering takeout. I tracked my savings more aggressively. Without covering Lucas's inconsistent income, my bank account began growing faster than I expected. Slowly, I started liking the woman I saw in the mirror again. Meanwhile, Lucas's name occasionally surfaced through mutual friends. I never asked. Information simply found me. Apparently, Vanessa wasn't quite the glamorous future Lucas had imagined. She was older, stylish, confident, and well-connected. She drove an expensive car, knew people in industries Lucas desperately wanted access to, and always seemed to be going somewhere important. At first, Lucas flaunted everything. Photos from rooftop restaurants, weekend trips, captions about finally choosing growth. One mutual friend told me he even posted something about refusing to stay small for people who feared change. I knew exactly who that was aimed at. I didn't respond. Then the posts changed. No more smiling couple photos. Instead, Lucas began posting vague quotes about loyalty, betrayal, and discovering people's true intentions. That was when I knew something had happened. A friend eventually told me the rest. Vanessa had been borrowing money from Lucas. Not huge amounts at first. Dinner, tickets, a hotel deposit. Then, larger things. She always had some explanation about cash flow or waiting on commissions. Lucas apparently believed helping her was proof that he belonged in her world. Then he discovered she had been seeing someone else. A man closer to her own age, someone with far more money and influence than Lucas. When Lucas confronted her, Vanessa didn't beg. She barely apologized. According to what I heard, she told him, "You knew this wasn't permanent." Permanent. That word must have hurt. Lucas had spent years accusing me of lacking excitement because I was building something permanent. Now he had finally found excitement. It just didn't include loyalty. Vanessa disappeared from his life almost immediately afterward, and she left damage behind. Lucas had used credit cards to keep up with her lifestyle. His freelance deadlines had suffered because he was constantly traveling, networking, or trying to impress people. 2 clients dropped him, then another. The same friends who had encouraged him to leave me began pulling away when his new life stopped looking glamorous. I heard Darren had stopped answering his calls. Luke barely invited him anywhere. Apparently, listening to Lucas complain about Vanessa wasn't nearly as entertaining as laughing at me. I didn't celebrate. I would be lying if I said I felt absolutely nothing. There was a flicker of satisfaction, not because Lucas was hurting, because reality had confirmed something I had struggled to believe. I had never been the problem. 6 months after leaving him, I earned a promotion. My manager called me into her office and said, "Your consistency has been impressive." Consistency. The word almost made me laugh. Lucas had used it like an insult. My boss used it as a reason to give me more responsibility and more money. By then, the gym had become part of my routine. I was stronger, more confident. People who hadn't seen me in months commented that I looked different. They were right. But the biggest change wasn't physical. I had stopped needing Lucas to regret losing me, and that was exactly when he finally reached out. One evening, my phone lit up. Lucas. Hey, stranger. Hope you're doing okay. I stared at it, then locked the screen. A week later, drove past a place we used to go. Made me think of you. Still nothing. Then, during lunch at work, my phone rang. Lucas. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? Dawn. His voice was strangely cheerful. Finally. I was starting to think you changed your number. I considered it. He laughed nervously. Come on. I just wanted to catch up. There's nothing to catch up on. A pause. Then his voice softened. You know, life was easier with you. I leaned back in my chair. You always handled things, he continued. Bills. Problems. You made everything feel stable. There it was. He missed what I provided. Not necessarily me. I miss that, he said. I looked out the office window. That's in the past. His tone tightened. So you don't care that I've been struggling? I almost laughed. You told me I existed to be stepped on, Lucas. That was months ago. It was also true enough for you to say. He went quiet. Then he tried again. I made mistakes. Yes. Vanessa was one. Yes. You could at least show some compassion. I felt something inside me become completely calm. You didn't call because you missed me. What? You called because the person you stepped onto moved away, and now you don't like standing alone. Silence. Then came the anger. You think you're better than me now? No. I paused. I just know I'm better without you. I ended the call. For several weeks, I heard nothing. Then one evening, while I was finishing a workout, I looked toward the gym entrance. Lucas was standing there, waiting for me, and the expression on his face told me a phone call was no longer enough. Lucas waited near the gym entrance with his hands buried in the pockets of a jacket I remembered buying him 2 Christmases earlier. For a second, I almost walked the other way. Not because I was afraid of him, because I was tired. Tired of being pulled back into a story I had already finished. He saw me before I could decide. Dawn. I stopped. Up close, he looked different. Thinner. Paler. The confidence he used to wear so naturally had been replaced by something restless. His eyes moved over me, taking in the changes. The stronger posture, the fitted workout clothes, the fact that I was standing in front of him without shrinking. You look. He gave a short, nervous laugh. Wow, you've changed. I have. He nodded like that answer hurt more than he expected. Can we talk? We're talking. Lucas glanced toward the parking lot. Not here. I'm not going anywhere with you. His face fell. Dawn, please. That word would once have made me soften instantly. Now I just waited. Vanessa was a disaster, he said. She lied to me, used me, cheated on me, left me with debt and then acted like none of it mattered. I said nothing. I know how stupid that sounds after everything. Yes. He flinched. I thought she was different. I thought she could give me this bigger life. And did she? His jaw tightened. No. I adjusted the strap of my gym bag. Then I guess you got your answer. That's not why I came. Then why are you here? Lucas stepped closer. Because I understand now. I almost smiled. What do you understand? What I had with you. There it was again. Not what he had done. What he had lost. You were real, he continued. You were solid. You cared about me before I had anything. You never made me perform. I was stupid, Dawn. He reached toward me. I stepped back. His hand froze. Can we start over? No. He stared at me. That fast? It's been months. I'm saying I'll change. I believe you might. Hope flashed across his face. But it won't be with me. The hope vanished. You don't even want to try? No. Lucas's expression twisted. So everything we had means nothing now? You already asked me that. Because you're acting like I was nobody. You weren't nobody. He softened. You were someone I loved. Past tense again. He heard it. His face hardened. You're enjoying this. No. Yes, you are. You wanted me to fail. I shook my head. I didn't need you to fail. He looked confused. I needed to stop failing myself. That silenced him. For a moment, I thought maybe he finally understood. Then he said, You think you're better than me because you got a promotion and started going to the gym? And there it was. The same contempt wearing a different outfit. I opened my car door. Goodbye, Lucas. He raised his voice. You'll regret this. I paused. You already said that once. Then I got inside and drove away. The last time I saw Lucas was several months later at a mutual friend's engagement party. I nearly skipped it. Not because of him, because I didn't want drama attached to a night that wasn't about us, but my friend insisted. So I went. By then, my life had changed even more. I had settled into my promotion. My savings were stronger than they had ever been. And I had started dating someone. His name was Ethan Cole. He was steady, funny in a quiet way, and somehow managed to make reliability feel attractive instead of embarrassing. When I entered the party, Lucas was sitting alone near the back of the room. He noticed me almost immediately. Then he noticed Ethan. His expression changed. Jealousy is strange when it comes from someone who once insisted you would never do better. Lucas approached while Ethan was speaking with one of the hosts. Dawn. Lucas. His eyes moved over me. You look incredible. Thanks. He glanced toward Ethan. So that's him? Yes. How serious? I almost laughed. That's not your business. His mouth tightened. I just thought maybe... Maybe what? That after everything, we'd eventually find our way back. I stared at him. Lucas lowered his voice. I know I said horrible things. I thought excitement was what I wanted. All I got was lies and chaos. He glanced around, then back at me. You grounded me. I nodded slowly. Yes. We could be what we were supposed to be. I set my drink down. No, Lucas. His eyes searched mine. What we were supposed to be already happened. He looked confused. You taught me what happens when I let someone confuse my kindness with weakness. His face went still. You told me women like me were meant to be stepped on. I was angry. You believed it. I don't anymore. That's good. Hope appeared again. But I do. He blinked. I continued. I believe that version of us is over. Lucas swallowed. So that's it? Yes. He looked toward Ethan. You replaced me. No. I smiled faintly. I finally stopped replacing myself with what someone else wanted me to be. For once, Lucas had nothing to say. I picked up my drink. You stepped on me once. His face tightened. That was the last time. Then I walked away. No shouting. No revenge. No dramatic victory. Just distance. And the strangest part was that I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel triumphant either. I felt nothing. Lucas wasn't my problem. He wasn't even my heartbreak anymore. He was a lesson. Nothing more. And once I understood that, he finally lost the one thing he had always assumed he would have over me. Power.